Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of the Zorro action figure from Boss Fight Studios. This is part of their Hero Hacks line. Boss Fight Studios does these wonderful collectible figures in the 3 3/4 inch scale, and I'm going to talk about the packaging first. So let's kind of put that packaging in context real quick. So as you can see, it is a very different orientation from what most action figures are packaged as. However, this is not a different size than a normal action figure packaging. It is actually the same size. It's just horizontal instead of vertical. And what this does is it gives you a lot of extra room for the art, because traditionally, you have your figure displayed and then you have kind of a strip beside the figure for the artwork. And sometimes that can get a little hectic. Like this is a great example of, where it got cluttered because they had this, contest they wanted to advertise. And so they put this sticker over the actual gorgeous photo of this character. And honestly, to me, kind of ruined it. So it's a very small amount of real estate that, this format gives you that we're all used to. We've all bought these figures, for decades like this. And yeah, every once in a while you're going to see a different format like this box. But, boxes, tend to minimize the artwork on the packaging. It's all about displaying the figure. And this is probably a really extreme example. They almost made it just a complete black box and just almost didn't put anything on here as far as the packaging goes. So, and you could put like a flap on here to display the artwork for the package, but then you're covering up the figure and you have that option, when you're displaying of either you'll see only the artwork or you'll see only the figure. This is a wonderful innovation and I think is just a brilliant change in action figure packaging to basically have the same amount of space, or actually maybe a little bit more than is traditional, right? And have all this extra space to do the artwork. Because, let me pull out a little bit. So we've got all the same information, but we're able to really focus on that artwork and give it room to breathe. And it's so much more natural to put it in a horizontal format too. And, look, I know I've collected action figures for decades and they've all looked like that. So you have to kind of reprogram your brain to accept that this is an action figure package. But once you do, it's genius. I love it. And I really love, the fact that they could fit all that on there. I mean, there's even, a Zorro 100-year logo on there, and it doesn't interfere with anything. It doesn't cover up anything that is needed in this image. It just looks right. It just looks wonderful. And the package is also really nice on the back as well. We've got a really nice look at the figure, and we've got text telling us who Zorro is, which is pretty handy for someone like me who's not that familiar with the character. Basically got it because A, he's a cool looking character, and B, I am currently reading Zorro in the Land That Time Forgot from American Mythology, and I've already got some Jurassic Park dinosaurs to pose with my Tarzan figure that's coming out from Boss Fight Studios. So I was like, might as well get Zorro too, so I can pose him fighting the dinosaurs like he does in that comic. So it's weird, but that's why I got him. And let's open him up and see what he is like. And oh yeah, for your Mentone card collectors, this package is standing on its own, and you also have the option of hanging it. It also includes a flap, so that's fantastic. And you don't have to damage the package to open it. It already has these flaps that you can just fold out to open it. So that's what I'm going to do. This side's already started, so I'm going to do this. And we should be able to actually reassemble the package without a problem. The card just slides right out. Again, haven't had to cut anything, haven't had to damage anything. And then you take out the back here. And this has all the accessories, including some interchangeable hands and a figure stand and his famous whip. And then you take out the second clamshell, and you have your Zorro figure. And I'll experiment at the end, putting him back in to see if it would be really easy to put him back in for storage or display. So we'll try that at the end, but right now I'm going to get this sucker out. And here's Zorro and everything he comes with out of the packaging. And I gotta say, it was really easy to pop stuff out. I did it off camera because normally it sounds really horrible when you have to like mess around with plastic packaging. But all of it just popped right out except for the whip that had some tape on it, but that pulled back real easy. This is like really, really easy packaging to get in and out. I love it. And let's look at the level of detail on the figure. As you can see, he is very nicely sculpted, very nicely detailed. Lots of wrinkles in the cloth that is sculpted. Nicely sculpted cape, very, very nice folds in there. Lots of great detail in the face. And he just looks really nice. I mean, it's an all-black figure, but, there's a lot of detail in there. And his articulation, let's test his articulation. So, he can move his arm, do the elbow. He's got a rotation at the wrist. Good range of movement. And look at this, guys. He can actually sit. A lot of modern action figures can't do this. But this guy, he can sit. And he can also do a wide stance. There is a version of him that comes with his horse. So if you want his horse, you can order Zorro and his horse, which is pretty damn awesome. And he can definitely sit on his horse or just about any vehicle that you have that's 3 3/4 inches. Let's see what he's got at the feet. He can move his feet around a little bit. He's got, I think, ball joints at the feet. But yeah, oh yeah, and good range of motion on that head. Look at this, Yeah, wow. I mean, isn't that great? I mean, he just has, pretty much all the motion you could possibly want from a Zorro figure. This is fantastic. So let's talk about his accessories. So he does come with a figure stand, but unfortunately I couldn't get this to work. And this is super common with action figures on any scale. They'll come with figure stands, but either the pegs are too big or the holes in the feet are too small. Just, something went wrong at the factory and it doesn't work. But it really doesn't matter. I just pulled out a random figure stand that I own for a 3 3/4 inch figure. It works just fine with him. So you can probably just pull out just any old figure stand and it'll do if you need one. But he stands just fine, so I'm probably not even going to use a figure stand with him. All right, so he comes with his hat, of course. And so you just put his hat on his head. And let's see how, oh gosh. It just fits right on there. That's impressive. I mean, yeah, it just fits right on there. It's secure. It's snug. I mean, wow. I didn't even know if that was going to work real well. I thought it might be loose and fall off his head. Yeah, that's nice. So he comes with a sword and it is gorgeous. I mean, look at the finish on this thing. It is just beautifully painted, beautifully detailed. It is a little sharp, so, try not to poke yourself with it. And he can either hold it or he does have a little thing that can hold it on his side as well. And here he is with his sword in his hand. So it will fit in there. His hands are gripped very tightly naturally, but you can pry the fingers open, and that's going to be how you're going to get the sword in there. You're going to pry the fingers open. But after that, yeah, he is, in full Zorro mode now with the hat and the sword, which is fantastic. And so he does have a little holster on the side that you can slide the sword into, and it holds it quite nicely. So that's really cool. That's just very, very iconic. And so here he is with his equally iconic whip. It is posed so it is natural in a whipping position, but it is also pliable. So there's other posing options if you don't want him to be whipping with it above his head. So as you can see, you can hold the whip, and as you can also see, it's also very nicely detailed. I love that. It looks pretty natural if you have it hanging on the ground. And as Boss Fight Studios pointed out on their Facebook page, it does coil. You'll need to go kind of in and out, but it is flexible enough that it can coil. So as far as his interchangeable head goes, it just pops right off, very easy. And then you will put the unmasked head on there. And he's rather happy in his unmasked head. So. By the way, this is also how you can take off this cape, I think. Let's see. Is it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Yes. So if you would like him without the cape, you certainly can. And this is a really cool figure. I mean, everything I can think of. Again, I'm not a big Zorro guy, but everything I can think of I'd want to do with him, I can do. And that's pretty darn cool. And so here's his unmasked head, and it looks really cool. And it's got the same full range of motion that his normal head would have. So one quick note about his cape is that there is a hole in his back, and there's a peg on the back of the cape. So you're going to want to not only slip it over, but also put this peg in the hole in his back. So for his interchangeable hands, if you're having problems, you might want to try taking it off at the gloves. And the gloves kind of have a little thing that stick out. And it's a separate piece for the glove right there, but it'll be much easier to take out the hand. Once you do it one time, you should be able to just get it in and out pretty easy. So these are his more expressive hands that are his alternate hands, and they do have hinges on them, so they do have a range of motion. And of course, they can rotate around like his other hands. So plenty of possibilities for posing. A couple subtle points of articulation I missed. He does have an ab cut, so you can move his body up and down. And his wrists do have a side-to-side cut on the gripping hands, so that can help with some of the gripping poses. So I'm actually using Zorro comics as a reference for the figure, you know, how accurate he is, and, you know, how to pose him and use the accessories and stuff. And this is just so absolutely perfect, so spot on to the source material. It's not an action figure of Zorro, it is Zorro. The only thing it's missing, and this is literally it, is that in the comic, on his other side from where he keeps the sword, he has a little loop that he keeps the whip, and he pulls it up and, you know, keeps it on his belt. You can't do that with the figure. That's it. That's the only thing he's missing, and assuming there was just something that made that impractical. But that's okay. I mean, it's got everything, literally every single thing else I can think of you would need for a Zorro figure. So let's see how Zorro sizes up to other 3 3/4 inch figures. He looks pretty good with this new Catwoman from Spin Masters. This is part of the new DC Universe 3 3/4 inch figures that are out now. Batman's a little short, but I think he's just kind of on the shorter side anyway. This is another one that just came out, the Hiya Toys 3 3/4 inch Predators, and holy crap, he looks great. Actually looking at this, I want to see Predator versus Zorro. This is fantastic. How about Zorro versus Ninjas? So here is a 3 3/4 inch Marvel Universe figure. This is Ronin, and this looks pretty awesome. So he fits right in with your Marvel Universe. And just to pair him up against one of the taller figures, here's your Golden Age Captain America with Zorro, and it still looks right. So yeah, 3 3/4 inch modern figures work pretty well with him. And just to contrast new 3 3/4 inch figures versus old. This is him with Vader from maybe Revenge of the Sith. I think that's what this figure's from. So he matches up pretty well. And then this is him with the vintage Vader. And so, you know, your original ones from the 80s, your original 3 3/4 inch figures are going to be just a little bit smaller and a little bit skinnier, so they're going to look a little odd with him. But just about anything modern is going to look great. And if you need some extra figures to pose with them, this scale gives you a lot of options. Obviously, you got some G.I. Joes. This is actually a Jumanji figure. This is a character that The Rock was playing, and so it scales pretty well with him. And there's a ton of animal figures on this scale. This is some of the jungle animal figurines that I have that I'll be posing with the 3 3/4 inch Tarzan figure that Boss Fight Studio is shipping very soon. And as I said, they've made Zorro's horse that you can get with another Zorro figure, and they've got a ton of other horses too. So, and I don't know if Zorro's ever rode an elephant, but he looks pretty darn cool on the Jumanji elephant. I also got this one to pose with the Tarzan figure once it comes. Maybe he needs the elephant to fight Predator. How's that? And of course, here's the reason I got Zorro, and this is pitting him up against the Raptor from, I guess it's the Jurassic World line. I want to call it Jurassic Park, but I think it's called Jurassic World now. And here's Zorro versus a bigger dinosaur from that same line. Awesome. Absolutely perfect. And so when you're trying to put it back in the packaging, if you want to store it that way or display it that way, it is super easy. So what was actually holding this stuff in there, why it was so easy to snap in and out, is there's these little bitty things that are sticking out. And all you have to do is put the accessory behind that little tab. There's just these little bitty tabs, and that's what's keeping it in there, and you just snap them back in and they will stay there. It's super intuitive. And there it is back in the packaging. That was super easy, and I'm usually terrible at this. This is probably some of the smartest action figure packaging I've ever seen as far as the functionality goes. So if you're a Mentone card, feel free to open this thing up and play with it or display it that way. You can pop it right back in there super easy and display it or store it this way. It is awesome. So if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. I had no context to what this figure would be like because I've never gotten anything from Boss Fight Studios. So I did a lot of comparisons, mainly to see how Tarzan's going to hold up when I get him. And I gotta say, I am super, super impressed. This is amazing. This is honestly one of the best figures I've gotten in a long, long time. I'm actually stretching my memory to even remember the last time I got something this darn good. I mean, it just has all the accessories it needs, all the posability. I mean, and the detail, and you know, all the accessories work. Everything fits. Nothing's fragile. Nothing falls off easy. I mean, it just works. I mean, it's just such an amazing figure, and you know, $25 or so for a figure on a 3 3/4 inch scale is expensive, but boy, is this worth it. So anyway, that's all my thoughts. Like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, see ya.